Yo, people, it's Cole from RetroReverbRecords. Today we've got another interview with the fantastic Ashley from Forged in Neon. How are you today, Ashley?
I am really well. All the better for seeing you, Cole.
You are looking fantastic. Look
well,
at that.
One tries one's best.
I believe you've got a super busy schedule coming up, haven't you?
Oh, you know what? It's crazy, but it's a good crazy. You know, I mean, from brand recognition, you can't get better. Let's be honest. You know, I mean, like this weekend, of course, if people don't already know, I mean, unless they're bored to death with it, this weekend is, of course, Forged's first birthday. I mean, you'd be forgiven for thinking that I was on the scene for 5 or 6 years, but no, just 1 year. So I've decided to throw all caution to the wind and have a big birthday live stream bash, and it's phenomenal. It is incredible, the stuff I've had to put together.
I will be tuning in. I've accepted my invite on Facebook.
Good.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there tomorrow. So it's been a year now. I'm absolutely stoked to have you on the show. I think you have been, as one of the awards in the background says, one of the leading ambassadors. Thank you Forever Synth for those lovely awards. Yeah. Well deserved as well. Well deserved.
Thank you, boys.
You have been one of the leading ambassadors in the scene and one of the leading female voices in the scene as well. So it's, you know, really great to have you on. Thank you very much for the time. I know that we've squeezed it in today around many other things. So I will, you know, shoot you with some questions now, shoot some questions at you. Apologies for people at home if I look like a ghost. I feel like I do. I've got some weird lighting going on today. So
yeah, you're fine.
If I look normal, cool. If I don't,
you look normal.
I do it on purpose. It's effects. Yeah. It's retro ghost effects.
That's it. Yeah. Retro reverb ghost or something.
All right. Okay, Ashley, listen. So a year today, you decided to get involved in the synthwave scene. Mm-hmm. Why did you decide to get into promotion?
You know, it's a long story, but I'll try and keep it as short as possible. I mean, certainly, you know, from my part of the story, I have had a love for synthwave since I'd say as far back as 2011.
Okay.
And I was getting into it. I first discovered, of course, you know, Valerie Collective, Maythelven, all of them, and then obviously went down the rabbit hole as most people do. And it wasn't until about, I'd say, into 2017, 2018 that I realized that it was actually gaining a lot of traction, you know, with the video games and, of course, that movie Drive, which everybody seems to lean on heavily. And, of course, also, you know, Kavinsky's Night Call, which seems to have been the hook for a lot of people. And in and around that time, of course, then the events started ratcheting up. So, of course, Outland and Retro Future Festival and all these things. And I was traveling around the world. I mean, I was traveling to Canada, I was traveling to the UK, I was traveling to the States, all for the love of this genre and actually wanting to support the people I loved, you know, and just generally be there and soak up the ambience. And in my travels and in my connections, I absorbed a lot of friendships, and I also got a lot of contacts, and I got a lot of information relative to tracks and things that were happening. And you know, I suppose that off at a tangent, I guess, I suppose, with the friendships, a lot of these artists kept sending me, you know, links to records that they haven't as yet put out but wanted my feedback. And I said to myself, of course, you know, I could do something with this, but I really wrestled with the idea of going down the route I went down, because there were so many prolific, I suppose, bloggers out there like Valingo that, you know, certainly seems to have cornered that market. And of course, Iron Skullet was out at the time as well. So I was thinking to myself that maybe there was no real, how could you say, space for me, for want of a better word. There's only so many, I suppose, bloggers and vloggers and, you know, e-zines that you can have out there with the genre. But I was wrestling with my approach to the scene and, you know, what I wanted to do. And it was a chance encounter with Mark Batchelor, who is Spectral Knight, for those who actually are into or keen on the scene, they'd know who he is.
I do. I've met him in London, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really, really good guy, and he has his head screwed on and knows what to do. And of course, he is the label boss of TW1 Records. And he approached me when he saw the post I threw up on Facebook relative to wanting to understand my niche in the genre. He had mentioned, asked me what were my thoughts. So between the pair of us, we came up with the idea of having a website. Now, the Forged in Neon title, as it were, was something that I was holding on to since 2017, because I had a curated Spotify playlist with the words Forged in Neon. So then, generally speaking, Forged in Neon became something other than, when I realized that essentially all the Synthwave family are in essence forged in neon. They are there, they're surrounded by neon. The stage is full of neon lights, and it's certainly what binds us in that sense. And the rest, as you say, is history.
Nice. Okay, so for those out there who haven't heard of Forged in Neon, there may be some. what does the magazine offer? What do you do? What are the features on Forged?
Well, the general premise of it is, of course, to get the word out there for fans with respect to the genre itself. Now, the genre is spread across three sort of avenues. You've got synth pop, synthwave, and dark synth. Because I would be one of those weird creatures that doesn't have an affinity for any one, specific wave. I go for all because I just like it all.
You just killed one of my questions later on.
Good. No, but yeah. So in that sense, yeah. So it's primarily a one-stop shop for fans and for artists alike. It's for fans to get to know more about the genre, and it's for artists to actually, I suppose, reach a whole new audience. So whether that's through interviews, through news, through, what I have obviously recently started, I think back in January, was a top tracks thing, where I go through all of the links that I'm sent, all Bandcamp, Spotify, and just try and weed out the best of the best, as far as I'm concerned, based on the week previous, and shine a light on them. So it's in essence, yeah, a one-stop shop for both fans and artists alike.
Okay, and where can people, what's the website address for those who are interested?
The web address, the web address is www.forgedinneon.com.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's fantastic. Great. Okay, the links will be in the description below, guys, as well, if you want to check out Ashley's website. It's absolutely top notch. Okay. Thanks. Right, so I've noticed recently, maybe I'm a bit behind the times, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you recently started a podcast?
I have, actually, yeah. It was quite the event, because it was something I had wanted and planned to do, but almost everybody that I spoke to about my idea said, you don't want to do that because it's too much like hard work. And I went, okay, because the website itself is almost a full-time job at this stage. So adding a podcast.
I was going to say, are you editing the podcast? Or
yes.
Okay. All right.
But in my foolishness, I guess, I started the podcast, and I have to say, it's been, it has actually done a lot better than I actually thought it would. Now, granted, it's quite, how could you say, it's not as professional sounding as most podcasts out there, but at the same time, there was feedback relative to the fact that they liked the retroness of it. That wasn't the intent, but there you go. But I happened upon a specific program that really does a lot of it for you. All you really need to do is just upload the audio, stick in the tracks or whatever, and away you go. So it really wasn't as hard from that perspective. Editing it is quite tough. And it probably will get tougher when down the track I actually add more one-to-one interviews and all that kind of thing, which of course is coming, because I want to ensure that I have levels built in the podcast for people to, well, just to retain people's listenership,
Absolutely. And so where can people find that as well? Well,
just in Spotify, just type Forged in Neon in Spotify and it'll pop straight up for you. And it's called, it's aptly called Forged in Neon podcast, because I'm just so vain. Everything is just Forged in Neon.
No, I put RetroReverbRecords everywhere. It's branding, isn't it? You've got to do it, otherwise people won't recognize it.
Exactly.
So how many episodes are available? How many have you done so far?
Well, only one, because I'm actually, it was only published there on the 28th of April, the first show. I'm going to try and make it a monthly thing for the moment. just to see where I am, you know, with respect to how the information that I put out. If it's a situation where I find myself with more time in my hands, I might make it bi-weekly. I don't know yet. Obviously, it was just something I wanted to throw out there to gauge just gauge the listenership and what would it be like for people listening to it. So now I know I can start building. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always start slow with these things, because otherwise you rush them, you don't do them well, and it's not worth it.
Absolutely, because I mean, you can live and die by a podcast, especially when you've got a brand involved as well. You have to watch what you say and all that kind of thing. So in that sense, you know, it can be quite difficult. I mean, I would love nothing better than to swear because I'm Irish.
You can swear on this one. You can swear on this one if you like. It goes, oh, we don't care. We don't give a fucking shit. Hey.
But okay. It's because, I mean, it's like, I mean, I don't swear often, but like sometimes when I'm actually telling a story, it just slips out, and I have to be so uber conscious of what I'm actually putting out there. But it's a labor of love for sure. So definitely we'll keep that going. For as long as I
do think that's a good point. I mean, all right, some people get offended by swearing. Most people don't, not nowadays, unless you're over 70. However, some people do. I also think, you know, you've got to be careful about how and what you say, because sometimes it's not the intent of what you say, it's just how it's taken by other people. So you want to make sure that you don't leave any room for, you know, to offend anyone, because obviously that's not the aim. So I do
absolutely. I mean, you know, the Synthwave, you know, podcast, or Synthwave in general, is meant to invoke happy memories or really good feelings and whatever. So I mean, if people have an aversion to swearing, or if they, you know, if they're uber sensitive, shall we say, you know, I don't want to get involved in the whole concept of having to kind of, you know, having said that, there are podcasts out there beyond Synth that, you know, is one that is just incredible. Andy swears all the time, and it just seems to fit the narrative of the actual. I mean,
when I went on Beyond Synth, we specifically had a 5-minute conversation about the enjoyment of swearing.
Well, I won't tell you what myself and Andy were talking about the last time I had a phone conversation with them, but needless to say, it was involving women's undergarments, and that went on for like a half an hour. The guy can talk about anything.
I might have to put a warning at the beginning of this interview contains swear words. I'm actually an English teacher for my day job, and I'm a big fan of the word fuck, because I think it's extremely versatile. It can be a verb, an adjective, an adverb. I don't know. It can do all kinds of stuff.
It is probably the best word ever. Let's be honest.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. All right, listen, before we ramble on forever and ever, amen, I would love to, but then I'll have to edit this video, and you know about that. Do you have anything else that Synthwave fans should know about? Any fingers in any other pies?
Well, I mean, I suppose, you know, looking at the now, I mean, at the minute, of course, the podcast is out for people to want to go and listen to that. The merchandise store was just launched this afternoon, which is incredible. So just forgedinneon.com/shop will get you there. Some terrific posters. The posters are amazing.
Okay.
Outside of that, then of course I have the live stream happening this weekend, which is incredible. The cast is stellar. You have everybody from Michael Oakley to Beckett, Netrunner, Elevate the Sky, Dipbiter, Andy Last, Mike Mendoza himself is of course being hosted by Retro Promenade, but it's also going to be streamed with Retro Synth as well. Neutron Dreams, of course, Dan Eachus is going to be on it. So it's incredible. It truly is. And I mean, to have all of those people supporting me is, I mean, words fail me. You know, when I was approached to do this based on, again, another social media post I put out with respect to wanting to do something to mark the birthday, here we are. Saturday is going to be a 3-hour event.
Amazing. So there's going to be live performances during that, interviews.
Yeah, there's going to be streamed live performances. There's going to be quite a lot of banter. I mean, there's, you know, when you get the likes of Michael Oakley, Beckett, Mike Mendoza, Andy Last, and myself in the one chat, yeah, there's going to be lots of banter. There's variety segments as well. Mike has put together some amazing videos. So you know what I mean, it's as live streams go, it'll be different than other live streams, but I think that would be in the round what I wanted to do, something that is actually somewhat different and makes Forged and Neon stand out, you know, which is great.
Nice. Well, good luck.
There's also something that I will exclusively reveal here.
Ooh, exclusive.
Okay, calm down. But it's coming out in, well, end of August, beginning of September. There is a Forged and Neon compilation coming out.
I've heard about this actually.
Yeah, on vinyl and cassette and mini disc and CD. It's incredible. The amount of artists that are on it is out of this world. I won't tell you everyone, of course, because it'll be 21 names strong, but needless to say, you're looking at Phaserland, you're looking at Zayas, you're looking at Beckett, you're also looking at Ronan and
our boys Honeybeard.
And Honeybeard, yes, my faves. Yeah, they're on it as well. Absolutely. I mean, I went at breakneck speed to try and see if I could get Black Skies on it, because it was one of my favorite tracks of last year.
Yeah.
So what way to open up a compilation than to stick Honeybeard on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. And nice timing as well, because they've got a vinyl coming out with us.
You know what? It's incredible. I mean, because I promote the guys so much, because literally they are the best band by bar none. They do tend to send me a few things to kind of listen to, and it just sounds incredible. It really does.
Oh, have you heard the new album?
I have. Yeah.
Okay, right, cool.
But it's to be honest with you, you know, I'd say it's their best yet.
There's certainly for me, there's certainly probably 4 tracks on there that I really like a lot. Yeah. I mean, I like them all, but I mean, 4 stick out for me, I would say, definitely. Absolutely. And I mean, it's just, I mean, the guys' work ethic and their songbook is just fantastic. You know, I mean, they do really deserve all the success in the world. That's for sure. They really do. Yeah. Well, hopefully they will kick on with this final, because it's been quite a long time coming. So I've been working with Honeybeard now for nearly 2 years. So time for Honeybeard.
Absolutely. But whilst I'm at it, can I make a request, Cole?
Yeah, please go for it.
Can you go kick Le Groupe Fantastique up the bum and ask them to actually send out an album stat?
You know what? It's a bit of an ongoing joke about how long it takes them to make stuff, but actually
I love those guys, and I mean their song awesome. Counterfeit is probably in my top 10 of all time.
No, they're amazing. But there was a bit of a sad story actually, because they've also been working on an album for us to release on vinyl. It's going to come after Honeybeard now, but they were working with a guy in the studio over Christmas, and they had it almost all done, and then unfortunately he passed away with COVID.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's quite sad. Obviously I can't say the studio or any names like that.
Awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. Obviously, you know, for his family and everyone involved, and they knew him and stuff. But from a more practical point of view, I didn't know him. But from a more practical point of view, it took them a long time to be able to go through everything in the studio, recover the files. Some of it got lost, some of it only he knew where it was and stuff like that. But they managed to get back about 75% of the work.
Which is better than nothing, but still, what a tragedy. That's so...
Yeah, it was, and apparently he was awesome and doing, you know, really good. But that's put them back 4 months. They're fucking slow as it is. So,
sorry, boys. Sorry. Okay.
All right,
we love you.
Anita, let me move on to the, is there anything else you want to say about Forged and Neon? Anything I've missed?
I mean, we got through the website, how it evolved, of course, the podcast, the stream, the compilation. Of course, there is something else coming out with TW1 Records, because obviously I'm affiliated with TW1 Records as well, and had a keen hand in, you know, building the artist roster there, which was great, because it's nice to be able to, you know, use your contacts and help them out, as well as helping the label out as well.
Yeah.
but they're coming out with a TW1 sort of compilation next, well, the 12th of May, I think. And it's essentially TW1 and Friends, and it's got Forged and Neon's brand on it as well, which is really, really lovely, because they also, you know, have a great affinity for the brand too. So it's quite nice. So that's coming out shortly too. It's coming out on the 12th of May.
I'll see if I can stick some links in the description down for TW1. I hope it goes well. And actually, sorry, what was the one more question about your compilation? What was the inspiration behind releasing a compilation? Did you just feel like
believe it or not, and again, you know, when I say this, I'm probably sounding like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but the brand itself must be fairly large insofar as that I had a record company approach me and suggest that because of my contacts and because of who I am and the magazine, the e-zine and all of that, that they would love to throw, you know, my brand together and put a compilation album out. And I sat on the concept for about 2 or 3 days, and I said, well, this sounds like a great idea. I mean, not only does it allow, you know, my brand to reach further, but it also gives something back to the artists as well, because the split with respect to the profits is pretty heavily weighted in the artist's favor. When the record label approached me and said, you know, what would you like to do? Essentially, I just said as much to the artists as possible, please, given the fact that we've had a year from hell, you know.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
But pretty much, you know, obviously I only had space for a certain amount of artists, so I have chosen those who, well, were keen supporters of Forged and Neon, but also who I really, really loved. You know, I wanted my stamp all over that, primarily because if it is showing Forged and Neon off, I want people to understand that I think I have pretty good taste in music, you know, in that sense. So
cool.
But yeah.
All right, Ash, are you ready for the famous, well, it's not famous, I'm trying to make it famous, quick fire rounds, right? General knowledge.
Go for it.
General knowledge and some random weird questions, right? Okay, so ready, quick fire rounds. Question 1, tell me something good about Ireland.
The pubs.
When they're open, right?
When they're open, exactly.
Tell me something bad about Ireland.
The weather.
Yeah, are you a fan of hot weather?
You know what, I don't mind it. I don't mind super hot, but I like, you know, just, you know, not too humid, but just nice, you know. Okay.
I like hot, obviously, being in Sicily.
Well, being in Sicily, yeah, for sure.
All right, for people out there who want to know a little bit more about the beautiful Ash, how do you relax or try to relax?
Well, you know what, I think for the minute, you know, I don't get a whole pile of time, because with the day job and Forged and the podcast and live streams and all this kind of business, I'm lucky if I get 5 seconds to bless myself. However, when I do get a chance to, I'll just Netflix, binge watch some shows. I also like to try and, well, I've gotten into virtual reality a lot lately since last October. So you might find me, you know, playing netball or Beat Sabering my life away to the likes of Starcadian or Wave Shaper or something like that. But that's, I just kind of, because you're sitting at a desk most of the time and you're, you know, you've got a lot of pent up energy. So I tend to like to release it doing some virtual reality stuff, which is kind of cool.
Cool. Right, excellent. Right, here's a general knowledge 80s question. What song does Tom Cruise dance to in Risky Business? Don't worry if you don't know. I didn't.
No, I do know. Old Time Rock and Roll, is it?
Yes, amazing. Well done.
I was singing it in my head going, and so I'm not going to sing on camera, so I'm just internally trying to, yeah. Old Time Rock and Roll.
Super impressed with that one. All right, can you tell me something that you love?
Something that I love. Oh goodness. I love a lot of things. I love synthwave.
There we go. Cool answer. All right. Opposite, something that you hate.
Something that I hate. Goodness. You know what? I mean, those who are generally disrespectful in almost any and every medium, you know, I mean, it's a, you know, if you're unnecessarily antagonistic, or if you're, you know, lying to get ahead, I'm not really on board with that, you know. And I, you know, especially in a genre as, you know, and polluted is too strong a word, but in a genre where there's lots of people, you know, you will see the good with the bad, you know. So in that sense, you know, it would be good if everybody was a little nicer to each other, put it that way.
Okay, right, yes. The dark underbelly of synthwave. Yes. Okay, I keep putting my glasses on because I'm a bit old and this is really small when I'm looking at it on my phone. Right, The Magic Number was a 1989 hit for the band De La Soul. Which album of theirs did it appear on?
Oh goodness. Was it? No, they came out with a song called Me, Myself and I. Was the album called Me, Myself and I?
No, it wasn't. No, it was called Feet High and Rising.
Oh, okay.
Cool
well,
album. Cool album. I liked it a lot. Okay, here's another general knowledge question. Right, this is easy. Freddy Krueger is the antagonist of which 1980s horror film movie franchise?
And you know what? I have never watched a horror in my life, but I know this. It's Nightmare on Elm Street.
It is indeed. Okay, you said the best thing about Ireland was the pubs, and do you have a favorite tipple? What can somebody buy you if they see you in a club?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Prosecco.
Ah, Prosecco, the bubbly stuff that gets you drunk.
A girl, yes.
Okay, do you prefer a bath or a shower?
Shower. I'm very sort of like quick and methodical with getting ready. And I mean, believe it or not, I used to take 2 or 3 hours getting ready. And then I lived in Australia with an ex-boyfriend who really was so impatient. If I took longer than 10 minutes, he was gone without me, let's put it that way. So I've actually trained myself now to be like, I'm super swift, you know, we're trying to get ready.
That's the way to do it. So he's cracked it. So for all men out there, just leave.
Just leave. I'll just send a text to say I'll see you there. Fine. Okay. All
right. Here's a bit of a deeper one. In your opinion, how can the scene keep growing?
Well, it is a tough question insofar as that you need a lot of cool heads, and great marketing. I mean, I think what's happening at the moment is that there's a lot of jostling in the scene, you know, people trying to get over one another to be the top dog in certain genres or whatever, where people just need to chill. You know, your music will get listened to. You know, there's no point in being antagonistic. There's no point in being, you know, wanting things done yesterday. Things will happen when they happen. And you know what? The key thing is to be as creative as you can be. Get creative and stay creative. You know, the genre itself, I mean, there's a lot of, I suppose, things out there which suggest that, you know, people are, you know, it's like a cookie cutter scenario, you know, or one track sounds the same as the next, the same as the next, the same as the next. That won't ever drive a genre forward.
No.
But in a sense, if you can, you know, and no pun intended, but if you can forge your own path and try and be as unique as you possibly can, you will get noticed. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. You will get noticed.
Creativity, talent, and a lot of hard work.
Absolutely, and be prepared to put in the hard yards. I mean, the likes of Michael Oakley did not happen upon his, you know, fame or whatever he'd like to call it overnight. He simply didn't. I mean, he's been working piano, you know, in bars and trying to make a name for himself now for, I'd say, over 12, 13 years. I could be wrong, Michael, you'll correct me on this Saturday, but I'd say, you know, a good few years. It did not happen for him overnight. And the same with Ollie Wright, you know. And the
same, even though you were saying it's just a year, it would have been a hard year. You would have slogged it out for a year, and I'm sure you think there's a lot more to come and a lot more hard work before you get to exactly where you want to be with Fortunately, although it's going 100%. Very well.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, for my whilst everything looks all sort of neon-y and very sort of put together, there's a lot behind that to try and make it work. A lot of, and I mean, just one individual, can be quite time consuming and anxiety driven, but I do it because I know that there is now a lot of people, not say a lot of people, but people, you know, wanting to see what the next thing is I do and what next interview I do and what I'm trying to do next to try and drive the scene forward. You know, I mean, and look, my door is always open. If somebody wants to approach me and suggest something for me to do or to get involved in, I'm all ears. I'm quite happy, you know. I mean, if it's another avenue I could take the website down in, or if there's something that's missing that needs to be done, happily do that, no problem at all. What I will say, of course, is that the site will pivot, I'd imagine, in the next few months with respect to more editorial content, and will try and steer clear of doing as many interviews as I've done to date, primarily because I don't want it to be, you know, overran with interviews and all that kind of thing. I prefer, you know, a mix of content in there. But obviously, as the events ratchet up as well, and gigs and, you know, traveling all over, there'll be gallery, you know, items, there'll be, you know, videos, and hopefully on the ground videos with, you know, artists pre and post their show, and, you know, just things that are more organic, that I could bring to the website. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to when we sort of get back to that kind of
I mean, normality. I mean, whatever normality is, or whatever normal means, just to get back to something, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, listen, Ashley, is there anyone in particular you would like to send thanks out, shout out to anyone you want to mention?
Well, oh goodness, I mean, obviously, thank you to you for this platform this evening. I think certainly to shout out to my TWM friends and artists, of course, all over there. Say hi, guys. Anybody truly who supported Forged in Neon from the very first baby steps I've taken to now, because it's been an incredible journey, and it's a journey that's still ongoing, but nevertheless, all the better for the incredible support I have had to date. Also, a big shout out to RetroReverbRecords, Sandor Gavin. Big shout out to Megatronics as well, of course. Yeah, there's so many people. I could be here all night.
All right, well, there's a lot of people listening. Listen, all the best with the 1 year celebrations tomorrow.
Thank you.
And guys, tune in, check it out, and you know, like she said, she's there, she's open, so I'm sure she considers all types of submissions, and whatever it is you want to approach her about, feel free to do so, although she's very busy. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Okay, Ashley, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you indeed for the platform. I really enjoyed it.
No problem.